How far should games be allowed to go? Can games in fact go too far? Is Call of Duty Modern Warfare courting controversy, or is it just an honest depiction of the horrors of war? Here to discuss the new game modes, the returning Killstreaks, and the courting controversy is Mr. Henry Cooper. How are you doing?
I'm good. This conversation might be as controversial as our conversation about Hideo Kojima yesterday, but we'll have to find out.
I very much doubt it.
No, the atrocities of war aren't anywhere near as controversial as us saying that he might not be the perfect god he is.
To even question that, anyway, let's move on. Call of Duty, we had a lot of information released over the last 24 hours, let's say. Journalists had hands-on previews of the game. There's some gameplay footage released. We've had a new trailer. So this is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which is the soft reboot of the classic Modern Warfare, developed by Infinity Ward, who did all the best Call of Duties, if you ask me. Published by Activision. I'm already sick in my mouth over that one. Planned to be released on the 25th of October. We'll see if that holds true or they push it back or whatever.
There is a beta before that with a bunch of weird dates, but we'll go into that a bit later on.
This is the 16th overall installment of the COD franchise.
16? Oh my god, there's so many.
Well, it's been going for 16 years then, I guess.
Yeah, annually, yeah.
So the new trailer has been received very well so far, which is a surprise. 2.6 million views, 212,000 upvotes, and only 4,000 downvotes, which is a lot better than last time round for Infinity Ward, because their Infinite Warfare is still the 6th most disliked YouTube video of all time, currently sitting at 42 million views, 602,000 upvotes. Sounds pretty good. 3.8 million downvotes.
Big yikes.
Holy
that's
shit.
Rough. That is rough.
Holy shit. But they're just under 10% upvotes now on the 2.6 million so far overnight, and 4K down, which is like 2%, 2 or 3% downvotes, which isn't bad at all. So Infinity Ward will be relieved, that's for sure. So the journalists got hands-on with the multiplayer recently, and we got a lot of new info. So we're going to summarize a lot of it and talk about some of the controversies too. So first up, they're definitely going for realism this time. That's the kind of thrust of everything that they've been saying. Mature, authentic, and gritty are the three words that Activision have been using and that they've been reiterating. Every outlet, authentic and gritty, or they say it's authentic and gritty. Those two words are always
you're going to run out of words to describe it after a while,
which is good for me. I like authentic and gritty games. The question is how far they push that, and we'll get into that in a while.
Yeah, and whether or not Call of Duty is the kind of franchise who can do that sort of thing justice, because they've never been that serious, but this sounds very serious. They're going to try and get their feet wet with that.
This promises to be a slower pace than the previous installments of Call of Duty. A lot of recoil in the weapons reported, but you can also mount your gun on most vertical or horizontal surfaces to counter the recoil, which sounds like fun. Doors you can barge through or open them slightly just to toss in a grenade.
It's a minor thing, but it's an attempt to make things a bit more tactical. I think in the wake of the success of games like Rainbow Six Siege, which is your more tactical first-person shooter, it seems like this has taken a lot of inspiration from that sort of thing.
And the new game modes which have been highlighted so far, we heard one called Gunfight, which we're excited about, and I'll quote PC Games N. The new game mode pits you and one ally against an enemy pair in narrow, tightly packed maps, with the first team to win 6 rounds declared the overall victor. But there's a twist. You're all given the same randomized loadouts, and it's up to you to see what you can do with them. One round we play forces us to think tactically as we line up shots with a sniper rifle, whereas the next sees us charging in with shotgun impulsively. What remains a constant though is the potential to defy the odds if your teammate falls in battle. Improvise well with your given loadout and you can take the 2 enemy players to seize the round. This to me sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's more than just like your classic duos deathmatch type thing, because if it's randomized loadouts that change every round, it's meant to be like quick fire, so it's constantly going to be changing and different. That sounds really, really intense, really fast, and really cool, and I think that'll balance out the slightly slower approach they're taking to the rest of the multiplayer.
And it also tests your skills with all different loadouts as well. You might be a decent sniper, but are you any good with a shotgun?
Yeah, exactly.
Like how good are you overall? You might be one of the best players in the world with a certain weapon. Doesn't mean that you might win this, because you might be so much weaker with the other weapons that you might get beaten.
And doing it with just one person will probably mean that you can get really tactical if it's like a buddy and you've both got mics, so you can communicate rather than having to communicate with an entire team and try and coordinate some idiot spinning around in the corner.
Yeah, one of the things that has kind of put me off these kind of AAA shooters in the past few years, I guess, is they're more geared towards run and gunners, like people who just run round corners, shooting, spraying, and jumping. This type of strategical thinking, you've got to outwit your opponents as well as outshoot them. It's a lot more appealing to me. The other mode that we've got a look at is nighttime mode. Now, this is a hardcore mode that you play. Obviously, it's night, but you have to use your night vision goggles. There's no mini map, so you can't see the enemy, and it forces you to work as a team, according to the reports. When your gun is up, the enemy can see your laser sight, so you've got to think carefully about that.
That's a really interesting one. One thing I noticed is that if you're using a gun with a scope on it, you can't look down the scope because apparently you can't do that with night vision goggles because the light refracts differently. So they have to hold it kind of like the way John Wick does. It's like at an angle, and I think that's really because that's like an actual tactical thing. It's meant to make it so you can aim with both eyes instead of like having to close one or something. It's a bit weird, but it's a cool little extra realistic detail that I quite like.
Yeah, so you can spot your enemies if they're holding their guns up, and so it gives you a little bit of an advantage if people are not using the weapons correctly. I mean, obviously we can expect the return of the old traditional TDM, headquarters, domination, all those other game types and more. But these were just a couple that caught our eye. Apparently, gunfight was, from a lot of outlets that I've read, gunfight was the
one that sounds the
new kid on the block that everyone's talking about and everyone's excited about. And also this time is return of the Killstreaks. Now, this is obviously something from the previous games that a lot of people missed. So Killstreaks are back. UAV returns. People will be glad to hear. After 5 kills, you get an infantry fighting vehicle.
Basically a massive tank.
Yeah, so vehicles confirmed.
Yeah, it's quite a new thing for Call of Duty. I mean, they're in Black Ops 4's Blackout Battle Royale mode, but not in this capacity, so this seems quite interesting.
And then you get to 7 kills, you get the controversial white phosphorus airstrike, which douses the battlefield in a deadly white smoke, cuts the enemy's health in half, and obstructs their vision. This is controversial, right?
Yeah, this is quite a controversial one because if you don't know what it is, it's essentially a chemical gas that burns all of your skin off, essentially, when you come into contact with it. It's very unpleasant, and it was used quite recently, and that's part of the reason it's so controversial is because it was used in Syria on civilians, and it was quite publicized, and it was condemned like internationally. Amnesty International called it a war crime, and like everyone was like, this is terrible, we can't be doing this. And the fact that it's in a game is likely to upset a lot of people because it's, again, a bit too close to reality. The argument will be, oh, it's like trying to make something so horrible fun. I think it's going to be closer to something like Spec Ops The Line. Awesome game, not enough people played it, but essentially in that you're forced to use it against your enemies, and the point is that, you don't think anything of it, your enemies, but you end up killing a bunch of civilians as well, and then your teammates in the campaign are like, what the hell, like, you've gone too far, we need to sort this out. So if they can use a form of commentary with it, like when they use it in the campaign, I think that'll justify its inclusion. But if it's just a multiplayer inclusion, I think they're gonna rattle a few too many cages. But I think I'm glad it's there because it's a real thing, and I don't think they should be shying away from the real, like, horrible stuff.
Yeah,
because it's too horrible.
People will object because it's normalizing these like atrocities that are happening in the real world right now. People having fun using these mechanics, which that's the criticism, which I can understand.
Yeah, absolutely.
But still, this is a game, right? This is an 18+ game, probably. It has not been rated yet, but we can assume it's going to be an adult game for adult people who, in the large part, are reasonable enough and rational enough to understand that these things are horrible and they're not normal at all.
Yeah, you're not meant to agree with it. I think part of the reason they said they included it was to replace the EMP kill streak ability, which scrambles all electrical stuff, obviously, including your HUD.
But Call of Duty is no stranger to controversy, obviously. Call of Duty 2 itself was controversial for the No Russian mission, if anyone remembers, where you play as an undercover CIA agent working with the Russians to kill innocent civilians in Moscow airport. Now, this game, Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, call it by its correct title because there's so many of them. It's been compared to Call of Duty 2 and the No Russian mission, and in fact it's been compared as being even worse by YouTuber and streamer called Drifter. Now, this was based on some hands-on that he got a while ago. This is back in May this year, and he said the following in a Twitter post back then: Call of Duty Modern Warfare makes Modern Warfare 2's No Russian look like a Pixar film. I'm deadly serious when I say that I was shocked by the level of realistic violence. We'll be surprised if the game gets rated M instead of AO. What he's referring to there is part of the gameplay in the single player campaign is that you have to quickly ascertain whether NPCs are a threat or not, such as coming across a civilian who is believed to be going for a gun before grabbing her baby. Now, the developers did assure journalists at a hands-on event that you cannot kill this woman who's just going to grab her baby. Like, that's not, you can't can't accidentally kill this woman. However, there are women who are going to grab guns and you have to neutralize them.
Yeah, because they're a threat.
Because they're a threat, right? And this was Dean Takahashi was talking. He raised a huge objection to it back in May the 30th. And Dean Takahashi, if you recognize his name, he's a journalist from VentureBeat. He's the dude who wasn't very good at Cuphead. If that rings any bells, we'll leave that there.
Yep.
So the article was called Taking War in a Frightening Direction. And here's some quotes from the article. It has scenes and gameplay in it that are very disturbing to me. In another room, a woman runs for a gun. She prepares to shoot. You have to kill her. This should not be part of a modern video game, in my opinion. I am told that the narrative of the story, which is generally secret, will explain the context for this scene. But as it is, as I've seen it, I found it profoundly disturbing and unjustifiable. Those are strong words there by Mr. Dean Takahashi. Obviously, he's taken a stance. That's just his opinion. Don't be going to Twitter and call him out for it and calling him shit at Cuphead or whatever you do. Don't bother with that.
I think if you're disturbed by this gameplay, that's kind of the point. It's kind of what they want from you, because they've said that they're going to base a lot of what you're playing on like headlines of real stories and taking inspiration from real world events and stuff that's so shocking. And if you're getting riled up by it, that's exactly what they want. They've achieved their mission essentially.
Yeah, getting you to think, right? It's get politics out of our games. This is kind of the point. Like there's a lot of things that happen in the real world that we should be getting upset about as a day-to-day in general, right? Because these things happen. People get gassed, nobody speaks a word, but it happens in a video game. We're all fucking upset. Don't put it in our video games. They can do it in Syria or wherever. That's the point of it, right? It's to raise awareness, right? And to make people think.
The keep politics out of our games angle is kind of more applicable to the old Call of Duty games, where you're the Americans or the British and you're the heroes. You're fighting those evil terrorists. That's perpetuating the Western narrative. But this seems like it's at least trying to be. We don't know yet. But it's trying to be way more balanced in saying, all right, the Westerners, who we've always seen as the good guys, are going to be doing some bad things, and the Easterners, who are conventionally shown as the terrorists, aren't always terrorists. They're fighting for justice and good things.
Yeah, I mean, I've long said that games like this, AAA first-person shooter games, war games, whatever, they glorify war. There's no two ways about it. People die in real life in these wars, right? And we just play games and have fun shooting people and think it's fun. When a game comes around like this and tries to tackle the real-life grittiness of what's happening in real life in wars today, people get upset about it. It's like, no, this should be part of it, because
you shouldn't be hiding from it.
Exactly. People should understand that these type of things are real and they happen to real life people, and they're happening today. They're happening right now. These are the challenges that face the military. That's my personal opinion, obviously. I feel like the more that games deal with these types of things, at least a greater understanding. It's not all about fun and games and shooting people and having fun with your mates and teabagging them and stuff.
The issue with me is that that's something that they can easily achieve in the single player. They can tell a story around why these bad things are happening, but then it becomes a bit more of a question in the multiplayer, because it's just there for fun, and that's where they're going to have a bit more rocky ground to try and traverse. I don't really have a problem with it, because as we said, it's realism. It's trying to prove that war isn't pleasant. It's going to be full of some bad stuff, but no doubt they're going to get a lot of heat for including stuff like this.
Yeah, there's always going to be people raising exceptions for inclusion of these in the games, because people see games as, they're supposed to just be fun. They're supposed to you're not supposed to make us think. At the same time, there's people pushing for the likes of Ubisoft to include politics in their games and stuff like that. It's unwinnable.
Yeah.
Like, where do you draw the line? Obviously, we're just talking our opinions. We might be wrong. We're not trying to tell you what is right and wrong. We're just offering the facts and giving our interpretation.
I think if you want video games to be taken seriously as an artistic medium, you need to be prepared to tackle serious topics, not necessarily political ones, but stuff that might make people uncomfortable.
And this reverberates with the controversy surrounding Detroit Become Human recently, where they got shot down in the media before release of the game about a domestic violence scene in the game. They were criticised. Again, this type of thing shouldn't be in games, whereas in my opinion, again, it's raising awareness. Like this is type of these are the issues that people go through, and the game itself was, one of my favourite games of last year. I think it was awesome, right? But then again, people just not understand. People like Esther Ranson coming out saying, because she runs Childline, which is a charity in the UK. People like that coming out not knowing anything about the game, not knowing anything about what it's trying to achieve, and just criticising it because it's an inclusion in the game, and just devaluing the medium of gaming just because she believes that can't do it justice, or can't be gritty and real enough and be impactful enough to change people's perceptions.
Context is absolutely key.
Again, before we finish up, there's another scene in Call of Duty Modern Warfare where you play as a child whose father is killed in front of you, and you have to end up killing the soldier who does so with your younger brother, which again was another point of controversy. Some people say you shouldn't be made to kill someone as a child.
But
again,
real children are killing real people in these, war zones.
the thing for me right now is we don't know how all of this plays out firsthand. We're only hearing other people's opinions and their evaluation of it. So we should just reserve judgment on whether this is right or this is wrong, or how they've done it before we see how they've done it.
Yeah.
But those is our opinions on the matter. Let us know what you think anyway down in the comments. If you disagree with us, that's fine. Try not to flare up and get angry with us, because we're just here opening the conversation. It's up to you to put us straight if you want to do that.
Lastly, just before we go, there is a beta going on in the beginning of September, but naturally, because it's a big AAA game, the dates are all over the place and are really stupid. But it's 12th to the 13th of September, early access on PS4, so PS4 players are getting it first. It's like a timed exclusive thing. Then 14th to the 16th of September to the public, again only on PS4 at that time. Then 19th to the 20th is early access for PC and Xbox, and then by the 21st to the 23rd it rolls out to everyone across all platforms, and there's cross-play between everything. That's including console to PC.
So there you have it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the notification bell if you want to get notified when we release our videos. If you liked and want to support the content, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. And that is it from Henry and I. We will see you again in the next video. Until then, bye for now.